Thanksgiving is just around the corner, but if you're a single girl who lives by herself with her preciouses, you might be a little bit daunted by the idea of doing a Thanksgiving feast all by yourself. Well, never fear. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a Thanksgiving for one and two kitties. Let's have a fight. I'll cut up the carrot tops and saute with sugar chops, served with homemade applesauce. Let's have a fight. Anyway, Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays because the premise is you just have a feast. But a lot of people like to tie that together with family. You get together with your family and you have this feast. But you don't have to. You can have a great feast all by yourself. The first thing that you have to do to scale this down to just one person is replace that huge honking turkey that's nothing but dry white meat anyway. Why would you want to eat that? With a cute little Cornish game hen. Now, you get these in the frozen section of your supermarket all year round. I've never actually seen them available fresh. One of these is a very generous chicken dinner for one person, or you can cut it in half for two people and it's less generous. But I'm very generous, so I'm going to have this whole thing myself. First thing you want to do is thaw it, which I've done. And after that, of course, you have to remove it from this bag. I have my oven preheating right now at 350 degrees. Okay, you want to give your bird a thorough rinse and the pat dry. And you'll notice that your bird comes with a little present or two or three inside. Ah! Mine's defective. It doesn't come with any presents. Okay, that's not cool. But anyway, sometimes your game hen will come with the giblets, the liver, and the heart inside. This one did not. Anyway, these giblets, excluding the liver, I put these in a pot to use later to make broth. But since I don't have giblets in this bird, then I will just set the pot aside. I actually like to break the breastbone. Just smash it down a little bit. The reason I do this is because if it pops up too much higher than the rest of the bird, the breast will get done that much faster. Get yourself a roasting pan. You want a pan and then a thingy that has holes over that. The reason we do this is we want to catch the drippings. We want to catch the drippings from the bird as it roasts because we're going to use those later to make gravy. So put your bird backside up. Incidentally, note wherever your bird has been and know that it's contaminated now. This cutting board and this plate are now contaminated. Don't eat anything off of these without cooking it. To make this bird yummier, add flavor to it, I'm going to do a couple things. First thing I'm going to do is melt a little bit of butter, maybe like a tablespoon. I'm also going to pre-mix some spices to use as a rub. I'm being very simple today. I'm just using salt, pepper, and ground sage. Just give this a little mix with your hand. First thing, you're going to brush it with the melted butter. This will also give the spice rub something to adhere to, as well as give the chicken really good flavor and browning. Incidentally, this and this are also now tainted, as well as this hand. Rub. And I call it a rub, but, sprinkle it. Half of it, roughly. And then rather than rub, I just pat it firmly into the chicken. Flip it. Flip the bird. Incidentally, I also don't bother to truss my bird, especially if it's just a little bird like this. I don't really care. Let the legs roam free. It's a nicer presentation if you truss it. But again, if it's just me by myself, I don't really care what it looks like. I'm not impressing anybody. Take the rest of your butter. You can also baste your bird with butter as it is roasting. I'm kind of too lazy to do that, so I'm not gonna. The rest of your spice rub. Now the front side of the bird is where most of the meat is, so I made sure to get most of my spice rub on the front side. Wash your hands. And then just put this in a 350 degree oven. I actually don't know how long to cook this. If I'm cooking just an individual chicken thigh, it usually takes about 35 minutes, but a thigh is like, a third of the size of this entire bird. So I'm banking on it taking at least an hour. So I'm going to check it after an hour and see what temperature it is. Put away your tainted things. It's been an hour, so I'm taking the bird's temperature. In the breast, you want your instant read thermometer, or your analog thermometer, to read about 160. This little guy is creeping almost all the way up to 160. The juices look clear. I'm going to poke it under the thigh, because that's the part that usually takes longer. The juices are looking pretty clear, actually, so I'm going to let this guy rest and start to assemble the rest of the feast. I'm going to make Brussels sprouts. You'll see the award-winning recipe on 2 seasons ago. And I'm going to make a pan gravy with the drippings. First thing you're going to want to do is put the bird on a plate. This will also help you see even better if it's in fact done or not, because the juices that collect on the plate, if there's blood in them, it needs to go back in the oven again. Discard this in your sink. And now this, my friends, is liquid gold. You might find a little glob of blood that's sort of an ugly, murky sort of brown. Get rid of any of those little things. But anything that's a nice, rich, reddish brown, that's flavor, and that's going to build an excellent gravy. So for my beverage, instead of doing cranberry sauce, I'm going to do hot cranberry juice. It's really simple, just cranberry juice that you get from the store, put in a cinnamon stick and a clove into your mug, and just microwave this for a couple minutes until it's hot. Also on standby for when I start making my gravy, I have about 1/4 cup of flour just waiting. And I also have about 1/2 cup to a full cup of homemade chicken stock waiting. You may notice I'm not doing a green bean casserole. I never liked those things. Blech. And the gravy, I'm going to make it directly in this original dripping pan, so you put that over a burner. Then on medium heat. This is a very thin pan, so you don't need to put it on so high. A lot of what's in this drippings is fat. We're going to combine a little bit of flour into that fat, cook that, and it's going to make a roux, exactly like what we did when we made bechamel sauce earlier for mac and cheese last season. You want to make sure that you incorporate it fully and that the flour is not lumpy. The juices are running clear, so we're good with the bird. I also have on standby some leftover brown rice. You need some kind of starch to soak up the gravy, and I don't like mashed potatoes, so I'm going to microwave this now. The roux is cooked, so it's time to deglaze with broth. I used maybe 1/4 cup of broth just then. I also like to dump those chicken juices just directly in there. The amount of broth you add depends on how thick or thin you like your gravy. A little salt and pepper. I should have done this earlier, but I want you all to take a vow with me right now. Repeat after me. I, insert name, solemnly swear to never, under any circumstances, use that fake instant gravy crap at Thanksgiving or any other time. Okay, please keep this oath. We're going to set this aside. When there's just one person, you don't really need a gravy boat. You just dump it directly onto your plate. And behold, its wonderful, succulent, Thanksgiving-y goodness.